Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, welcome back to the drawing board, episode 14.
Yeah, 14. We've actually
Might
been
be
on
13.
it.
I'm not sure, but either way, as you can see, we are in a bit of a different location, Krish.
Yeah, so this is back to where everything began, where it all started, back in Fort McMurray. And not many people, even from the city, know this, but Fort McMurray actually has a lot of great places to sit back, relax, and enjoy the view. One of them being this hidden cliff that we used to come to almost every day of our summers. Matt, do you have any fun memories from this place?
Dude, what memory from here isn't fun, honestly. Like, the entirety of 2023 summer was spent here doing, we have so many videos. It was this stupid as shit. It was genuinely, like, so many great memories were created here. They kind of ruined it a little bit, though. Like, we were talking about it earlier, but there used to be a stump here. And if Subtarshi's watching, dude, the stump that we sat on that one time, and we made that video where, like, I was climbing up the mountain and you were sat there like the sage and, like, giving us wisdom. They took that stump down. They took one of the trees down. Yeah, but hey, it's still the spot in our hearts, so we're back here. We thought we would commemorate it with a podcast.
And the first in-person podcast, mind you. A little bit of a dap up is required.
Actually, it's not a green screen. It's not a green screen.
And the wind is picking up. But yeah, let's get started. Matt, get some pretty interesting topics.
We can jump into those later, but I wanted to ask you, you were in some absolute purgatory during finals, dude. How did finals go? What was your entire experience with that? Like, you were busy for a minute.
Yeah, I was busy. That's on me. Okay, basically the way that I operate school is I don't do school if it's not the week before exams. And so the week before midterms and the week before finals, I just like grind. And I for example, I never went to a class the entire semester. And so a lot of it was like straight just grinding, and I'm lucky enough to have great friends who are smart and are willing to teach me some of the things that I'm supposed to know in school. So yeah, I was in purgatory, just figuring that stuff out. And then afterwards, I kind of took like a little bit of mental vacation. I haven't been doing anything too productive recently, but it feels good. You know, just chill at home, grab some food, bum it out a little bit. Yeah. What you?
Yeah, so obviously MCAT was cancelled as per the last podcast, so just working, just chilling. School's starting soon, but yeah. What are your plans for the next couple of months? What are you getting up to?
Yeah, okay. So I don't know how much I can share. Okay, yeah. So basically, as per the last podcast, I'll be working on a YouTube channel where I'm going to be making some science fiction things in books like lightsabers and I don't know, like hoverboards, just like crazy things that all of us have wanted to make at some point, whether it's with duct tape or with actual electronics. I'm going to be making those with a YouTube channel called Hacksmith Industries and posting videos about them. So, well, I don't know if cross promos are allowed on the podcast. I have to
cross promos, dude. All three of our viewers will watch.
A free sponsorship for Hacksmith Industries.
Dude, this episode is brought to you by Hacksmith Industries.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. I'll be chilling in Cambridge, Ontario, which is like pretty much nowhere. It's near Waterloo, where our school is. But yeah.
Have you had a chance to tour the studio yet?
Dude, it's so nice.
Yeah.
Like, imagine it's like a comic book memorabilia store, except it's all custom stuff, and everyone there is like a nerd, but they're like epic nerds.
Damn, that's sick. How many people work there in the entire like YouTube channel?
I think it's like 15 or 20. It's actually a good chunk. And then there's a good like 10 like people on the video side and a good like 5 or 6 on the like engineering side.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really want to talk about this initially, but like recently there was a big like drama with Linus Tech. I'm not sure if you like saw all that, and like how basically he expanded really quickly. There's like a lot of members on the team. They weren't catching a bunch of mistakes that were happening in the production process and stuff. But yeah, like I don't understand like the process of like growing a YouTube channel. Like that must be crazy. Start off as like a creative, like an individual who just wants to express themselves in whatever creative medium, and like growing to like being basically a business owner, having an entire team of like editors, engineers, you know, like so on and so forth around you, and like managing them while also kind of keep in touch with that creative side.
And it's so different, right? Because these YouTubers have never wanted to be big business owners. A lot of people start startups with the idea of being big CEOs at some point. But YouTubers kind of remind me of indie creators always to begin with. And so when they have to end up taking the responsibility of being some giant business owner and having people's livelihoods depend on them, it becomes really weird for them. And honestly, like people be getting canceled for anything these days.
Yeah, like the internet is so quick to jump on every it was a mistake. Like, I'm not sure how much you know about it, but like sure, he kind of messed up with like some minor details, but it's like at the end of the day, he like said the GPU was 10% faster than it actually was during the testing, or like some small mistakes. Like who cares? Like, and they're jumping on him like he like yeah, there's nothing to talk about really. It's just crazy how fast the internet is to jump on people for the smallest things.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to work at this YouTube channel. I've been interested in it for a long time. But the idea of being able to jump straight into a big YouTube channel and see how that side of things are, because everyone always starts a YouTube channel and gets it to like maybe like 50 to 100 subscribers, like this podcast. Hopefully. They always get to 50 or 100 subscribers and quit. And I think it's gonna be kind of nice to see the other side of things. If a YouTube channel actually gets big, what goes into managing it? Like revenue streams are probably really crazy. A lot of sponsorships. I'll be trying to share with you guys as much as I can, but I also don't want to break any contracts.
Yeah. But do you think it's like, because Mr. Beast or like any of those big YouTubers, whenever they talk about growing on YouTube, they basically just say like, if you're consistent and like you upload every like a couple times a week and like once you have 100 videos or something, eventually like you'll get good enough and the algorithm will pick you up. Do you think it's actually true that if you're consistent enough on YouTube or like these platforms that are, they're not oversaturated, but they are like, there's like an immense amount of content on them, do you think it's still possible to like grow on them given enough consistency and time?
Yeah, it's purely probabilistic, right? And so most of the people that you're competing against in any field, not just YouTubing, they go all in for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
Yeah.
But since they don't have that consistency, they'll never be able to get to the same place that you are. And YouTube is a great example because the algorithm itself is like the probabilistic measure of how successful you are.
Yeah.
And so not getting in the algorithm once or 10 times or 100 times is not a measure of how good your videos are. And eventually, like if your videos are good and you by chance get into the algorithm once, which is a pure result of consistency, if the videos are good, they'll do well and you start getting the algorithm more. And so yeah, the algorithm is interesting. And the other thing is, like Mr. Beast talks about this a lot, but a lot of people think their videos are good, but they aren't.
Yeah.
And the true democracy is the algorithm and the views and the likes. And if you think that you're not getting enough views or likes, chances are it's not because the algorithm hates you or you're shadow banned. It's purely because your video is subpar.
Yeah, I guess it's all about like a lot of these things come down to luck in quotes, but you can also do so much to increase the surface area of luck. So like only one of those things need to land, right? If you have one video, you need to get extremely lucky to get picked up by the algorithm. And it happens occasionally. There'll be a YouTuber who like drops one video, first one has like 150k views, they have 20k subs,
yeah,
they're off. But for the most part, it's like you have to increase your surface area of luck as much as possible. I think that's like a really good mindset to have in general, like no matter like what aspect of life. Like even like I thought about it for like meta applications. It's like, yes, it's an extremely difficult process and there's a lot of luck involved, but given enough applications or given enough like chances, you increase your surface area for luck so much that you're gonna hit eventually.
Exactly. You take the MCAT 3 times? Yeah. So you take it 3 times, you apply multiple times.
Yeah, like eventually you'll hit.
This is coming to you from a future doctor, everyone. So yeah, I was thinking about this too, bro. Having our friends as doctors, I don't know about how I feel about that. Like for example, I swear I'm gonna go to the doctor's office one time, I'm gonna see this guy, I'm gonna go like, yo, this is the problem I have. And then he's going to go like, oh, I cheated on that test. Like, I can help you, bro.
Dude, I've been having this thing where, like, I want to make the joke once I'm, like, properly, like a physician, like, just diagnose people with, like, just dumb shit. It's like, yeah, like, I diagnose you with, like, big dick syndrome. Like, this is a medical diagnosis. Like, you know what I mean? Just like
write a paper
stuff
on that? Yeah, you're so fine. You have nothing to worry about.
Exactly. It's just like, but since you're, like, a doctor or whatever, it's like, you can say it and it's actually funny. Or if somebody else says, like, okay, bro, like, it's not that funny. I don't know. But like speaking on that, like increasing your surface area of luck and consistency, like I thought about this a little bit while watching Oppenheimer. It's one of the things I want to talk about. But like it's very rare that in media or pop culture that consistency or like doing a lot of things or a lot of time and like a group effort toward one collective goal is what's the word? Is glamorized or romanticized. Oftentimes it seems like, especially from pop culture, that it's just like the top 1% within a given field are the real needle movers. Like, for example, if we take Oppenheimer, like how much of the Manhattan Project was Oppenheimer and how much of it was the people who were working under him?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think specifically for the Manhattan Project, a lot of credit could be given to Oppenheimer. And the main reason being that he's the one who brought quantum physics and the entire like industry to the States. Right? And this happened in the States. And so without him being the main driver, and this is something that's really hard because oftentimes you see in any organized movements, leaders get a lot of credit, but they don't actually do a lot. Like they don't get their hands dirty. And at some point they become managers, and nobody really likes managers. But you have to stop and think that if there's not someone there to continuously push and execute and make sure things are happening the right way, things will never get done. Because a lot of the people who do have the capabilities of doing certain things are quite lazy, or they just don't have this vision and drive. And having this external drive, like constant pressure, like, yo, we need to do this, now we need to do this, is super helpful. And Oppenheimer was also like one of the smartest guys of that era.
Yeah. So how much of that do you think is like, it's kind of the same question again, but like how much do you think that's necessary, like that external drive? Do you think it's actually that necessary? Do you think most people, especially who are already elite, like everybody working on the Manhattan Project is within the 0.1% of quantum mechanics, quantum physics, whatever that they're working on, right? Like, do you think they really need that external drive? They've been able to get so far without any external drive. For the most part, it's probably like intrinsic motivation. Like, sure, they have this figurehead who might be the smartest of their entire group, and he's just visionary. Do you think it's really that necessary? And do you think the amount of credit that Oppenheimer gets for it, because we don't know the names of the people who are working on the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, we do.
Like, okay, well, we know their names, but like not the way that we know Oppenheimer's name.
Yeah.
And maybe in part that's because of the movie. But like, for example, the guy who made the hydrogen bomb, like I know what his face looks like because of the movie, but I forgot what his name is. Right?
Yeah,
but like, we remember Oppenheimer's name, even like regardless of the movie. Like we would have known Oppenheimer's name. So do you think the amount of credit he gets is is fair relative to the amount of work he did toward it?
It's a good question.
And like another, like following up on that, I think the earlier back you go in history, the easier it was to get credit for being elite in your field. The way I thought about it was like in NBA terms. So like if you're playing in like the 70s, it's not that difficult to separate yourself from the pack because everybody's like not that the talent pool in the league is not that deep. Like, so getting an all NBA selection, for example, it's like, oh, you better have 10, 15 all NBA selections if you're like the best in the league during like the 80s or 70s. But now, like Kyrie, for example, like Kyrie would have 20 all NBA selections in 1 year, like if he was playing in the 70s. But now, like he barely makes all NBA type thing. Like the deeper the talent pool in the league gets, the bigger the world gets, the more talent and more competition there is, the harder it is to get recognition for the skills that you have.
I'll answer in two parts. Because I guess your first question was, does Oppenheimer deserve the credit that he gets?
I kind of started rambling, but yeah.
I think he does. And this guy goes back to the consistency thing. Because Oppenheimer's team was so talented and made of such a talented group of people, which, mind you, if you're in the scientific or academic community, you'll know a lot of these names, not just Oppenheimer's, but like we're mainstream news.
Yeah.
So, So I think he does. And the main reason is the consistency reason, where if you're one person working on a thing alone, it's very, very hard to get the consistency you need to take it far. And the reason is you as a person will get down, you'll hit an obstacle, and you won't be able to continue. But having external motivation at these times kind of levels out your consistency over time. And that's where like a lot of things start to happen. So it's like the quote goes like this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, to go together. And you need someone to kind of bundle everyone together. And Oppenheimer was that guy. And so I think he deserves a lot of the credit. Does everyone else deserve more? Probably.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Yeah, I guess that's just like history, though. Like even like the moon landings, for example. Like everybody knows the first two names, but who's the third guy? On the ship, like we don't know him because he didn't do it. Like he was like, it's not the face behind it, so we don't know the name. But that's just human nature, I guess.
Actually, I saw a cool tweet about this, but he was a guy. So that guy, the third guy, he was above in orbit of the moon while Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were on the moon for 28 hours. And so for those 28 hours, he was officially the loneliest man in history because he had no access to the internet and he was super far from anyone in the entire world. And separately, he took a picture of the moon, those two people, and the entire world. And so that was the only picture. That picture included everyone in history
except him.
Except for him.
Just take a selfie, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the movie in general, though? Like the actual movie, Oppenheimer. You watched it, right?
Yeah. I thought it was a good movie. I really wasn't too interested in the political side, but it did a good job. Like its role was truly to show people that the decisions that Oppenheimer made weren't as black and white as most people think them to be. And it's a really hard decision. I think towards the end, it became still kind of clear, like why would he continue making the bomb? But you also have sunk cost, right? You pour your heart and soul into something for 3 years. And it is on the brink of science. And nowadays you can say that the Manhattan Project, even though it killed a lot of people, probably fueled a lot of scientific discoveries in the future that can save a bunch. Yeah, I think it was a pretty good movie. I fell into like pretty bad like depression after watching it though.
No way. Why?
Because you see all those people in that movie and they were young. They were insane. Like Oppenheimer got his PhD at 23.
Yeah.
Wow. And he wasn't even, he was doing lab work before he did actual like theoretical physics, right?
Yeah.
So you feel a little bit of, and we're hitting 20.
Yeah.
Right? We're getting past the teenagers.
We're getting up there, bro.
And so you feel a little bit of angst in the idea that there's a lot of cool things you can do, and then there's a lot of cool places that you could have been, and it's very possible that you missed the mark. We missed the mark.
Yeah, it might be like just with the times changing now, because like even I'm not sure if it was rare in Oppenheimer's time to get a PhD that young, but like for in our age, like in the 2020s, like getting a PhD at 23 is next to impossible. Like how do you, like if you're doing your bachelor's at like 18, you're graduating by 20, you're doing a master's, you're doing like it takes way longer. No, like I'm not even sure how that would work, but
well, I know a couple people. I know. I think you have to enter university like first.
Yeah, super young.
Would you want your kids to do that?
I think about it myself sometimes, like cause whenever I see like those like wonder kids who are like extremely smart, they got into university at like 14, 15, and they're already ahead in their classes. The thing with those kids is often, even within university classes, they're the smartest of the bunch, even though they want they're younger. But for me, I don't think, I want to say I wouldn't, but I think my like just like ego of wanting to like be that like super smart like person might like overtake the decision. But for my kids, I definitely wouldn't put them through that, because I think you lose so much socially in terms of like the experiences you get throughout high school, like being able to chill. Like if you're like intelligent enough to be in university at the age of 15, then you should be able to just have fun during high school then.
Yeah,
like, you should take that time to enjoy high school, enjoy like your childhood, because like there's more than enough time to be an adult. Like there's no like, right, life is not a race. It's a competition, but it's not a race, right?
Why?
Like because like there's no benefit to doing things quicker, but there is benefit to doing things better, if that makes sense. Like sure, like if you're a PhD at the age of like 22, it's like it's cool. And it's like kind of like, but it's more like it's almost like a gimmick. It's like, oh, you have your PhD young, but like I have my PhD at 30. We're still both have our PhDs, nowhere to go past this point. But I enjoyed my childhood, and you're like 23 now. You have no social life, and you're like stuck in this career academia with like mental issues. Like I don't know.
I spent a lot of time studying these like young gifted children.
Yeah.
One, because I'm really interested in education, and two is because I was trying to be like them.
Yeah.
But it seems that all of them follow the same path of them being extremely gifted, them falling into some depression, mostly because of like the lack of social skills or like life in general. But then they always seem to get out of it, and they seem almost enlightened afterwards, because they don't have that desire or need for a social life anymore. But they're still able to satisfy that part of themselves through whatever coping mechanism.
But isn't life just funner? Like I don't think there's any person on the planet, maybe like bar a few, who can just like become enlightened enough to avoid social interaction or not need it. Like life is just more fun with good conversations, with good friends, with good family, right?
Yeah, it's true as well.
Like it's difficult to say as a kid, because like we might have come to that conclusion that like, you know, social life is very important. But like as a kid, like if your entire like life has revolved around school and doing well in school, it might just seem very appealing to you to be able to go to university at that young age and like get ahead of your peers in whatever way. If that's the way that you derive satisfaction, we've like, I guess, become like wise enough or enlightened enough to a point like, oh, that's not that important. Like if you're smarter than your friend, it's whatever, but like you'd rather have good friends, good people to talk to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a trade-off that you don't know what you want at a young age.
Yeah. And then the question is I don't know, it seems almost immoral if my kid was truly smart enough to go to an undergrad program at 14, there's very good chances that he could do a lot of great things for not only like himself but for like humanity. And so it seems almost immoral. It seems immoral to the world, but like moral to him to let him like live out, or to let them live out their just like high
their
school
potential.
Life.
Yeah. It's immoral, I think, in both ways though.
Yeah.
And like in it's a moral that either they don't fulfill their potential, or you know that you might cripple them socially.
Yeah.
Right? Because like at the end of the day, it's probably your decision as the parent.
Parenting's so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone would do it.
Honestly, like there's so much like just you have to constantly learn and like do the best. Like you don't have any way of knowing how your actions, what result your actions will have. You're trying to learn the kid at the same time, because not every kid will react the same to a certain parenting style.
Yeah.
And you're also trying to deal with yourself and grow as a person, because like what you become like a parent at the age of like early 30s, late 20s.
Yeah.
You're not completed as a person yet. Like I'm still growing myself.
Yeah.
And I have this person to mold as well. Like that's like it's next to impossible.
I agree. I'm gonna stop you right there for a separate segment. We were watching some of our old podcasts and we realized we're terrible at talking. Absolutely terrible. We say like between every other word. Me specifically, I say like often.
Dude, I think I've been doing it the entire time. I haven't realized.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop right there. This is a public call out to both Mac and myself to stop saying like.
And everybody who's watching.
Yeah, guys, take the things that you have to say, take some time to develop what you're gonna say, and say them with assertive, great communication skills.
I think writing is really important for that. Like being able to convey your thought. See, it is, but at the same time it isn't. Because I think speech is it's a completely different medium than writing. Like you will become better at speaking by writing, but also you have time to develop your thoughts and to lay them out in a coherent way when you're writing. When you're writing, but when you're speaking, you kind of have to come up with it on the spot. I was watching this video where this guy was tracking the amount of ums that famous speakers would say within like their speeches or whatever it was, and what he found was that the average speaker will say the same amount of ums as a professional like speech giver when the speech giver is outside of their comfort zone. So for example, if you're like a guy who's like a PhD in astrophysics and you give a lecture on astrophysics, for the entire lecture on astrophysics, you'll have very few ums, you'll be very, very eloquent, come across as a very good speaker. But say for example you have a Q&A session after that, you'll go back down to the norm of the average person and you'll be saying the same amount of ums and ahs that like one of you or I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was also looking at some things, and it said that most people who are professionals in their field or giving talks or lectures have written about what they're going to say many times over. And so at that point, they're reading from a mental script.
Exactly, yeah. Because like you get to practice what you're going to say by writing it. And like even like say for example you're saying something and like you kind of go off track, you know so much about this topic, you've written about it in so many different mediums, you've collected so many different ideas within like this domain that you can just jump to a different topic, and for the listener it'll seem like, oh, this was planned the entire time, it's coherent speech. But whereas for you it might have been like, oh, I lost my train of thought, but I can just start talking about this.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a point of writing makes your ideas and content in general more eloquent, but there's something different to being able to speak on a dime.
Yeah. Is there a way to practice that? There was this guy who keeps popping up in my YouTube shorts. His name is like Vin Trang or something like that. He's like a speech coach.
I saw him. Yeah.
You saw him? Yeah.
Like the guy who's like always end on low notes, right?
Yeah. Like some of the things are kind of gimmicky, but I think some of his advice of like recording yourself, just like set your phone up and start recording yourself for 10 minutes, just talk for 10 minutes straight and see how your inflections are, the way you're speaking, your body language, everything like that, and just analyze yourself and see how you would react if you were listening to yourself, and like just improve that way. Do you think that's worth doing?
Yeah, I think that's the point of this podcast too. Yeah. Like we're both like, for the 3 viewers that are watching this right now, we go back, look through our podcast and see how bad like speakers we are and try and improve on it. And so hopefully if you look at this podcast compared to our first podcast, you'll see a difference. Or maybe we should like make a clip of that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think podcasting is also a very particular skill, and we've gotten better at that particular skill. Like not having dead air is very important in podcasts, but in conversations it's like normal, and you should probably have some level of it. Like you aren't just rambling.
But dude, you know what I found? Most podcasts have so much dead air. They have so much dead air, but they just clip everything.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at podcasts, they have clips every like 1 second.
Wait, but like I'll watch like Joe Rogan or maybe it's like they're edited as well. But Joe Rogan doesn't edit his podcast though, and Joe Rogan for the most part, like has very little breaks or edits. They'll usually fill the air with something, like he'll just start talking to Jamie or like bring some other like topic up about like psychedelics or something. But like I feel like he does a very good job. He's also like one of the best in the world at it, so it's hard to compare. But like he does a very good job of not having.
He was like a UFC commentator. Like,
exactly.
I think commentary or like giving narration to like certain random things is actually a great practice. Also, a great practice, freestyling.
Dude, facts. What's the update, by the way? What's your freestyle journey looking like?
Freestyle training, not bad. So I have a friend working on like a music company,
Okay.
which is an AI music company where like he's the one who powered like all like the Drake AI stuff.
No way.
And he gave me like he's like blessed me a membership.
That's so sick. Wait, so like he's the one who like has all the software for like the Drake.
He's
AI,
the one
like,
that made the software to power all the Drake AI stuff.
That is so sick.
Yeah. And so like the one bad thing about freestyling for me is my voice is not freestyling. It's not a singing voice, it's not a music voice, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah, he blessed me like a subscription basically to his thing. And so I'm gonna try and, now that I think I'm okay at freestyling, I only do it in the shower, but now I think I'm okay at freestyling, I'm gonna start putting pen to paper and trying to create actual raps, and then trying to generate like viral videos of it. Like, have you seen those like SpongeBob raps? I was telling you about this, right?
Yeah, I didn't see them, no.
They're they're actually such great lyricism and flow, and everything about them is spectacular.
And they're proper freestyles?
They're not freestyles.
Oh, okay. It's just raps.
But I think the idea of freestyling translates a lot to just your ability to regulate.
Yeah, the problem with freestyles is often the freestyles that go popular are just pre-written songs that people like pretend are freestyles. Like the one with Aiden Ross and was it Tory Lanez, I think.
That was, oh really?
Yeah.
That was written?
I'm pretty sure that was pre-written.
No, that wasn't written.
Was it not?
I'm almost sure that wasn't written. I think I have a really good litmus test for figuring out if a freestyle is written or not.
What's the litmus test?
If the person looks away when they're rapping, it's a pretty good tell that it's off the dome, because they're thinking on the spot.
Yeah.
But there's some people that this still doesn't make sense for. For example, you'll hear me talk about this a lot, but J. Cole's just a different animal. And so you can't tell if his freestyles are real or not, because even when he's freestyling, this is how he freestyles. He goes like, he like looks and points to everything that he's doing, and he like talks like this when he freestyles, and so you just never know.
So what is the process though? Because like whenever I think, if I try to do it, or like the times I have tried to do it, I just blank. Like about like what word my next like bar should end with.
You just have to push through it. You have to, and there's like different strategies, right? So there's like there's set up punchline, for example, where you figure out what word you want to say, and you put that in the second bar, and then you find out something that relates to that bar, and then make the first bar out of it.
Does writing music help with freestyling? Kind of go back to the writing versus
writing
speaking
in general helps with freestyling, is what I realized. Your ability to write really quickly, and honestly having a great vocabulary is really important as well for freestyling. Yeah, but keep an eye out. I'll give you guys updates. This is gonna be like a side quest of me just trying to make
we're gonna eventually need a freestyle dropped live on the pod, by the way.
Oh, you'll have to join.
Of course, I'll be there. But I'm saying like we're gonna need a freestyle on the pod.
Yeah, we'll be like Central C and Drake. Have you seen that freestyle?
Combination. That's a massive B. You know what also is really impressive is cricket commentators. These guys are commentating for like, especially test match, bro, like 24 hours.
And they're commentating the same thing over and over again.
Keep talking, bro. There's nothing else to say. We've talked about like how the ball is spinning and the pitch being like, you know, bad for bowling, whatever, like for the 100th time now. Like, but hey, it works.
Yeah, we should do that. We should like pick up. I think a really funny video would be like following your friend around and whether they know you're there or not, and just narrating their lives, just fully narrating for one whole day.
Or somebody makes a vlog with like no audio in it, and they just send it to like one of your friends. Like you have to
wait, that's actually really good.
Over this, like just no context. They don't get to pre-watch the video. Like you just send them the vlog. They just hit record, start the video, and they just have to start commentating on top of it.
Wait, that's a really good idea.
We should run that.
Yeah, keep your eyes up for that too. Oh, that's a good idea.
Coming soon. Everything's coming soon, bro. We got so many projects.
Yeah, you have to stop saying we will.
Stop saying that.
Yeah.
Hey, but this one came to fruition though. Honestly, I'm proud of us for actually doing this.
14 episodes is
14 episodes is kind of a banger.
Yeah. Okay. Next segment. I want to talk.
Wait. Okay, go ahead. No, it's fine. Keep going.
Did I miss something?
No. I was gonna talk about something else, but keep going. Because I remembered something. But okay, this guy's fine. Okay. I'll remember it.
Okay. I want to talk about underrated advice. Okay. So one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently is the idea that most advice is bad. And the reason that it's bad is because it's platitudinous, in that the same thing can apply in so many different places that it's not real advice that's actionable. And the other thing that's bad about this advice is that the opposite advice stands for a lot of situations as well.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. It's one piece of advice is like, go hard to go home, or go big or go home. But the other one is like, work incrementally over time and like be consistent, right?
Yeah.
And so these are two things that are quite opposite. but are still like both great pieces of advice.
Yeah.
And so one thing I want to ask you, Mohammed, is if you have any underrated advice that actually works out in most cases, that you think if you told someone it would actually spark action out of them.
Yeah, I think the advice like is like 2 points. One, I think most advice is useless. Like sitting and watching YouTube videos about like the best ways to study, or oh shit. And we're back. Okay. Yeah. So to answer the question, I think most advice is useless. Like sitting and watching YouTube videos that give you advice on how to do things is not actually that like it won't like move the needle forward. And I guess from that like anecdote, the advice is just do it. Like whatever like thing it is. Like say for example you want to go to the gym, right? And like you're sitting and watching YouTube, like what is the optimal way to train? Like should I go like 5 days a week, 3 days a week? What should my split be? Like how much protein should I eat? Like whatever. Like you could sit there for literally like years just learning everything there is to learn about fitness. But the problem is when you go to the gym, you're still not gonna know everything.
Yeah.
Like you'll still like come across a situation, like say for example like you're like learning to squat. Like you can watch 100 videos on what the optimal squat form is. You could teach other people to squat perfectly, but when you personally go to squat and like you're leaning forward like on your heels or whatever, like you still don't know what to do. You still have to just learn experientially.
Yeah, it's facts. That's facts. I think some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life, or I read somewhere, and this won't click for everyone, and that's one of the bad things about most advice. But when it does click, it actually hits hard, which is be the person that does things. And it's like you can spend hours and years planning and like being stuck in analysis paralysis, but you're not going to be productive in whatever you do unless you're the one that does it and gets your hands dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, like even just keeping your word to yourself is so important. Like if you say like even internally like I'm gonna wake up early tomorrow, or I'm gonna do this tomorrow, you have to keep that word to yourself, or else it might be subconscious, it might be a little like woo woo, but like your brain starts to think like yo, like I keep telling myself to do things but I'm not doing them, and like I'll just like procrastinate or whatever it is I'll do instead. So like why should I keep listening to myself? I know I'm not gonna do it. So like it by default when you say you're gonna do something, say like you said you're gonna wake up early for like 3 months in a row now.
Yeah.
And by the 4th month, your brain's like, bro, like we tried this, like it's not happening. Like we're not gonna wake up early. So you already admit defeat subconsciously in a way. So like, you have to keep like the word to yourself and maintain that. So like if you say you're gonna do something, you have to do it just for yourself.
Interesting. That's really good. That's actually really good underrated advice. Always keep your word.
Yeah. I was talking with Kushal about this the other day. I wasn't talking about it, but Kushal brought it up. He's like, I want to become like a man of integrity. Like it's kind of like. It's kind of cheesy. It's like it kind of makes sense. So it's like those like traditional values, or like those like old like the old kooky, not kooky, but like I don't know how to describe, but like the Peaky Blinder types, right? Where it's like these people like will keep their word, and like a man's word is his bond or whatever, like things like that. Like I don't know. I think there's kind of like there's a beauty to that, and having that word to yourself is also very important.
I agree. We do this thing. I don't know if you do it, Mac, but a lot of people in my friend group do this thing of like, you have my word, and a lot of times like you promise something and you break the promise, which is fine. Like promises get broken, but there's one thing that we've kind of set up like a system in our friend group is when you give your word for something, it is undoubtedly matter of fact, it must be true, and there's no loopholes or anything like crossing your fingers or like trying to figure out a loophole. When you say yo, like you have my word, this is the case, or you have my word, I will do this, it must happen, and if not, like you lose integrity as a person.
I think for most people they're pretty good with keeping their word to other people, because you have some like there's a reason, like you have somebody like who's depending on you. But keeping it to yourself is such like a powerful thing. If you can keep your word to yourself, you'll have no problem keeping your word to somebody else.
Wow.
Come on, bro.
Wow. Actually, yo, don't drop, dude. It just broke.
No. Okay, but also going back to the commentary thing, one thing I want to talk about. So ESPN had like a bunch of layoffs recently.
Okay.
And we were talking about like needle movers, and like being the 1% in your field is like so important.
Yeah.
And what did I write? I'm trying to find my notes. Like I think more and more things in society are being driven by like big personalities. Like not even like scientific field or like being talented or like skilled, but just like your personality. Like more and more YouTube channels, like personal branding is such a big thing now. Everybody has like their own website. Everybody has like a YouTube channel. Not everybody, but like it's become like a mainstream thing to have a YouTube channel, have a blog, have something, and like monetize yourself. So like what do you think about that? Do you think like I don't know, like, are you interested in doing that at all? Having a personal YouTube channel, like being a personality, and the ESPN point was like they fired off basically everybody except for like Stephen A. and like 2 or 3 other like the big names, the ones who are like really known for who ESPN is known by.
Yeah, I think I agree. And here's the main problem with that. It's most people don't allow themselves to be fully themselves on camera or in public. And when this happens, when you start kind of muddling the person that you are, and actually this might not be the case. For a lot of people, they might just be like less boring or less extravagant than like Stephen A., for example.
Yeah.
But those people aren't interesting. Like, think of all the really, really famous in the world. Like, think of famous people in the world. Think of the personalities. Think of like Kanye or Elon or Stephen A. These people are unapologetically themselves over and over again, to the point where they say very hot takes.
To a fault sometimes, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, it's who they are, and it seems that the general public really respects people for being unapologetically themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, like being yourself is such a like with Kanye, for example. Like the fact that he's created that art that is like the truest expression of himself. Like, yes, he said some very up shit, but people are still willing to overlook it because like, oh, like it's a meme, but it's like, oh, but he made graduation though. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. This might get me cancelled. Kanye's always but we have to be unapologetically ourselves here.
I was gonna say we might cut this out, but we'll leave it in.
No, we have to leave it in.
We have to leave it in now.
Yeah. To me personally, Kanye has probably said some like wrong things, but so has everyone in the world. I'm definitely not condoning the things.
Also, he's like mentally ill. Like
yeah,
he has bipolar.
He might.
No, he's definitely bipolar.
Yeah.
He's definitely bipolar.
But he's if you take anything that Kanye ever says in any interview, in any speech, in any form of music, and you clip it, there is some advice hidden within there. Some that will make you introspect or get inspired. And I think someone like that, with the ability to inspire on command for wherever he is very commendable, is what I'll say. Yeah, I think it's
the topic, yo. Okay, have you been keeping up with, or like, do you know about the SAG-AFTRA writer's strike that's happening in Hollywood right now?
Oh, is this the one with Adam Ruins Everything?
Yeah, he's participating in the strike, but like basically every writer, like everybody who's involved in the writing in Hollywood is on strike right now, including the actors, I think, as well. There's a couple different things. One being like the advent of AI and being able to like rewrite scripts that were done by actors or by writers and like repurpose them, and then them not technically having a right to them because AI has worked on it and like it's not their intellectual property anymore. But the main point was streaming services and the way that they monetize. Right. So like previously, the way it would work is actors get paid like a flat amount or a flat amount for doing a TV show, and then they get residuals based on how popular that show is when it's rerun on television, right? So for example, if like you like did what's the show, The Office. Okay, like if you were on The Office, you got paid for the episodes that you did, but you're also getting residuals when it's being run on like cable television every time it's played, right? Depending on like, and the thing that was good about television or cable TV was that there was a very clear like defined amount of people that were watching it. Like the cable television had the numbers, and that's what they used to give to like advertisers. Say, hey, like our primetime show gets like 3 million concurrent viewers. Based on that, give us like advertising, how much you're gonna pay us to advertise on our channel. Right. The problem now is that since we've moved away from the TV model toward the streaming model, and for the most part, streaming services operate in a loss. There are only 2 streaming services, Netflix and Hulu, that are actually in the black. Everybody else, Apple, Amazon, they're doing it just to get market share. Like it's like the loss leader, whatever business strategy, right? So the problem is they're not willing to tell people how many views they're getting because the entire reason that they're doing it is based on the stock. Like they want people to think that they're doing well, so their stock goes up, because the entire purpose of this streaming platform is to like just bump their stock up and help them raise money that way, right? And while taking a loss on this. But if they release to people how many viewers they're getting on this, which is probably not that high, the actors will now have an exact amount of what they should be getting, which is probably still more than they're getting right now. But that the companies lose so much money now because their stock basically takes a hit, because people are like, wait, why are we giving these guys money again? Their streaming services are making literally nothing, and there's no reason we should be like pumping their stock up. Yeah. So yeah, the dilemma is that streaming services have basically ruined the monetization model for Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree. Well, streaming service is really difficult, and like we haven't solved. A lot of people take it for granted that Netflix is a thing and Hulu is a thing, but it's very, very possible that in the future, these streaming services won't exist because of this problem of monetization.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's almost inevitable because like for the
That they fail.
yeah, like I mean, like maybe not inevitable, but like we need to have some sort of change because like right now, I think the best part about cable television was ability to create culture. Like rarely now during like when like TV shows are released on streaming platforms, are they released like one week at a time. Like for example, like a show will come out and the next week it'll come out, next week it'll come out. A lot of the times Netflix will just drop an entire season of Stranger Things, like, yo, have fun, binge it.
Yeah.
Right? But like the benefit of having things come out like once a week, exact same time, is that it creates culture, it creates like this community of like, oh shit, like I need to go like watch Stranger Things tonight, like it's coming out at 8 p.m. and then everybody's watching at the exact same time, everybody's talking about it at the exact same time. You come into work or school the next day, it's like, yo, did you watch Flash yesterday? Did you watch, Stranger Things yesterday? And you talk about it, the show becomes even bigger, so on and so forth.
Right.
But but the streaming business and like I guess the way that users want streaming is like very on demand. I want it right now and I want it like the way I want it, when I want it. So that kind of forces them to release everything at once because that's the way that their monetization model has always worked.
Yeah, I think they're experimenting with that though right now. Like, why would releasing a season at a time be better for their monetization model than releasing one?
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just saying that's the way they've done it like in the past. I kind of just like a theory of like people want it now, so that's why. But like, yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember reading this somewhere. I don't know if it's true still or not, but I remember them just saying that they're experimenting with doing this like bingeable like series season at a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably they'll go back to once a week because it's also not sustainable. Like if you look at also Netflix is losing a lot of market share for what shows are on Netflix.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is just staffing them. Hulu as well.
And
right?
also for the most part, like people who are buying Netflix, they're only buying it for a handful of shows, but you can't justify like $7 a month just to watch Stranger Things or just to watch whatever like big show Netflix has. So they need to pump out all of these like filler shows that aren't making them any money. They're probably getting less than like 100K views per episode, but they need to have them on there because their streaming platform is built on having this catalog of things to watch.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. I also think that this like the strike shit is pretty bad. It's pretty bullshit in my opinion. Because who are your customers as any movie, TV, broadcasting studio, streaming service? Your customers are the viewers. And if the market is pulling towards a decision where we want things and we want it now, as opposed to having to sit through ads and pay cable. For example, cable is really expensive.
Yeah, true. I don't think it's necessarily that they want to go back to cable. It's just they want transparency with the streaming companies, and they want the streaming companies to release their numbers so that they know how much money they're worth. Because like right now, if you're on Stranger Things, for example, or maybe it's a bad example, but like whatever show, like you're on a show, you get your money for doing the episode, but you're not getting any residuals now because they're not paying you anything because they're not releasing what numbers the show is pulling in once in the reruns or when it's just on the streaming platform.
Right. Oh,
right?
that's
So they want transparency with like,
but
how many
residuals
views
doesn't exist anymore.
Pardon?
Do residuals don't exist anymore on Netflix?
Like for like it's extremely low. I think like they give some like very small like flat amount, but it's like negligible to the amount that they would get when they were with cable TV. So it's not that they want to go back to cable TV because at this point it's probably impossible.
Yeah.
But they want transparency from the streaming companies to be like, hey, like how many views is my show actually getting? How much money am I worth? How much money should I be getting? Type of thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's like rare that we have such a massive strike in like the cultural epicenter of the Western world, basically in Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree. I'm quite curious. I'm really curious to see what streaming services like their final form is, because I'm sure that this is not it. Like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's also too many. Like the things are too spread out because I guess like in a way it's good because there's competition, but like there will be eventually some sort of monopolization of the industry where one or two big streaming platforms will have all of the shows on them, and like people will just pay for that subscription.
Make a prediction. What do you think the two last streaming service providers are going to be?
It's tough. I want to like bet on Amazon and Apple, to be honest.
Really?
Just like I know Netflix has been in the game for longer, but I think just the sheer amount of resources that Amazon and Apple have will eventually like overpower like the I guess like the understanding of the market, or like the experience that Netflix has as a company. And also Netflix has been shown to make like terrible decisions in the past, like like not allowing account sharing, and like having ads even on their paid services. Like it's like things that consumers don't want, whereas Amazon and Apple tend to be very tapped into what their consumers want and how to give the consumers what they want. Right now, I think the problem is like they just don't have the shows, so people aren't watching Apple and Amazon as much. But if I had to bet long term, I would still bet on Apple and Amazon.
Interesting. I probably wouldn't bet on Amazon, honestly. I'd probably bet on Disney Plus for sure.
Yeah, Disney might honestly.
Disney Plus for
Disney's
sure, because they just own too many. Like they own too many shows. Plus, you gotta think about like kids.
Yeah, kids are such a big, like, they drive so much money. But like I swear, like half the views on YouTube are just people like rewatching Baby Shark Doo-Doo.
Yeah. I'd say Disney Plus for sure. I actually don't. I would put all my money on just Disney Plus.
Honestly, that's fair. But Disney's also fallen off recently, like with like the way they're handling Marvel. I'm not sure if you watched any of the recent shows, but like basically all of phase 4 or 5, I can't remember. But like the only good thing that come out of it so far has been Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 or 3.
Yeah, but that's just like Disney owns so much that Marvel is kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between. Usually Mac does the outro, but I thought today I'll do it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on the Drawing Board Podcast. Peace.